What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on the social media platforms listed above. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. If you really want to take a game to the next level, go check us out at WiseTake.com. But at the very least, there's no reason to miss out on any of the free content we do. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. We do NBA DFS content for free Monday through Friday. This, of course, is our flagship show, the NBA Wise Stream. It's a two-part show. Part one is with me, solo, going over our projections, which are available for download at WiseTake.com. Part two, we bring on Paulie D. Today we have Stevie Brown joining us as well, another three-man. Yesterday we had Bobby Fye on as a guest, and we plan on working in some guests, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you will continue to enjoy when we do bring some of these guests and try to mix things up and get some different perspectives on here. With that said, guys, the likes are what allows us to continue to do the free content. So I see a lot of you have already hit the like button. I appreciate that. Those of you who haven't, please do. It really helps us out, keeps us going. The likes is what allows us, again, to be able to do all the free content that we do. We want to keep doing it. We like doing the free content. So make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. We got a lot of games to get through. We got a lot of games to get through. I see some people still pouring in. Shout out to Juice. I see Juice in the chat. Hit the likes, peeps. 12 of us in here. Come on, let's go. Big money day. That's right. It is a big money day. I like this slate. It's a 10 gamer. I like it. Yesterday I made a rookie mistake. Obviously, I told you guys I got a new dog, so we were taking it. It was my wife's birthday. I went to have a birthday dinner at the in-laws house, and I forgot my laptop, which was terrible because I had a losing day, but it wasn't as bad as it should have been. I had like 30% Andrew Wiggins, so 30% of my team's just down the drain with a big fat 0 from a 7-2 player, and I made a rookie mistake. I always bring the laptop, not just for DFS, but because of the business, everything. And while I was packing up all the dog shit, the bed, and everything else, trying to rush out the house to make it to dinner for the surprise party, I forgot my laptop. So unfortunately, I got screwed with the Wiggins news. Rookie mistake on my part. Rookie mistake. But every once in a while, I kind of have to make it this way. I remember not to do that shit again. But all in all, I thought it should have been a pretty good day. I mean, Wiggins getting ruled out, 15 minutes before his game started was pretty brutal. And I know a lot of you on FanDuel unfortunately got screwed along with me. Because I know I'm sure at least some of you played Wiggins. I wasn't even that high on him. It's just by the time we had all the news kind of shaken down, I just ended up with about 30% after I ran through the optimizers and everything. But it is what it is. I was fortunate enough to not lose more than I did. So I'll call it a win. After winning the day before with 100% total, I'll take it, right? I'll take it. But the great thing about NBA DFS and these daily sports is that we get another crack at it today. And I actually like this slate. It's a big slate. I'm not normally a fan of the huge slates just because there's so many options, so many things to choose from. But I actually like this one. I think there's some interesting plays, some interesting pricing. And so I'm excited to get into this and, start breaking it down with you guys. Not a ton has changed since earlier today, but there has been some things that have changed, such as Danilo Gallinari, who was out, and I should have checked the injury report before I came. I didn't see any alerts or postings that he was out, but obviously he was already listed out on the injury report, so I should have seen that, but my bad on that one. But anyway, feel free, pile in, hit up in the chat. Oh, man. Oh. Shout out to the OG MG, WiseTake Nation member, long time WiseTake Nation member. Oh, G-Tuck had him. He was pouring Crown when that news came out. Oh, brutal. Brutal. Welcome back, G-Tuck. It's good to have you back, bro. I always see you in a Slack chat doing your thing. Sometimes I get a little busy. Sometimes I can't pop in there, but I always see you in there doing your thing, man. It's nice having you back, man. All right, with that said, hit the like button. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to say it a bunch of times, but right now I'm going to say it one more time. There you go. It's coming up. It's coming up. It works, right? Asking you shall receive. I appreciate it, guys. I really do. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Go ahead, do your thing in the YouTube chat, and I will in and out of these games back and forth. I'll come in here. We got a lot to get through, so I'm going to see what kind of pace I can maintain. But we will do what we do. Starting off with the first game, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves visiting the Orlando Magic. We've got a 233.5 total, down from 236, so that's down 2.5 points. The Magic opened up minus 7.5. They're up to minus 8 at home. In terms of the schedule, pull up some schedule notes from our boy. The Timberwolves have had a day off. Orlando has also had a day off. Orlando has a game tomorrow, so kind of keep that in mind. If this game does get ugly, teams that play the next day have a tendency to be weird with their guys' minutes, but regardless, it's a phenomenal matchup for Orlando. So we'll talk about Minnesota first. Naz Reid is probably the most interesting, at least from a projection standpoint. On FanDuel, I do like him at 4,500 at power forward. On DraftKings at 5.5, he's okay. I think he'll be really low owned. Foul trouble's been an issue for him. Vooch is obviously pretty aggressive. However, he's more of a perimeter aggressive, so I don't know how likely he is to draw fouls. But definitely a risk, but obviously a high risk, high reward type of player. That's what Naz Reid has been. When he's cheap, it's not as risky. When his price is up, it gets a little more risky. I think the rest of the guys will be low owned, like Beasley, D'Lo. I'm fine with them, but none of them really stand out a ton. I'm good with just working some of these guys in, just because they're going to be low owned. If you're doing game stacks, then obviously yes, Beasley, D'Lo are the first two in, and kind of take it from there. I don't mind it as a game stack. I mean, it's a really high total, but the Orlando side specifically stands out a little bit more to me, right? They're the ones getting massively paced up. They're the centers have destroyed Orlando for quite some time. So, I'm sorry, centers has destroyed Minnesota since Cat's been out. So, Vooch would be my first stop. I know he's expensive, and we have a lot of really good centers today between Gobert and, what's his name, DeAndre Ayton. But Vooch is one of them. He shouldn't be ignored. I don't anticipate his ownership being too high because the value didn't seem that strong. That could change. We could get some value opening up. I know De'Aaron Fox is questionable again. But I think Vooch is highly in play. Minnesota's been really bad against centers. After that, Aaron Gordon's been on a tear ever since the slam dunk contest. So if you want to overpay for him, that's fine. I mean, overpaying based off this year's projection. Last year, this wouldn't have been that crazy of a price. It would have been an elevated price, but not that crazy considering the matchup. But obviously, we're going to have to do a lot to get him to project where he needs to be. But he's been playing phenomenally. I don't mind if people want to take a shot. Although, at these prices, I follow my projections hard. I work all day on them. So, as the way things stands now, I don't know how much of him I'll actually get to. James Ennis is probably somebody I'm going to have a pretty good amount of exposure to. He's playing like 28, 29 minutes a game. I only got him at 26 just because it's only been a 2-game sample where he's played that much. But he's been playing good minutes. He's also got the pace-up spot. This is a good situation for some steals, blocks, etc. As far as the stats go. And he's extremely cheap on a slate where we don't have a ton of solid value. So assuming he starts like he has been, assuming he's going to get those 27, 28 minutes, I'm cool with James Ennis. And I think as of now, I was getting like 50% of him or so, which I'm comfortable with. Going up against Minnesota, unless something opens up, he seems to be one of the top value options on the board. For game stack purposes, Evan Fournier is also fine to work in. Markelle Fultz a little more risky, very inconsistent performances, but I'm cool with him. But Vooch and Enos are the two that I'm likely to have the most of from this team. And again, they're getting paced up dramatically. We saw them against Atlanta. It was the same kind of situation, and they all went off. So game stack city is fine with me. Even if you don't want to do a full game stack, you just want to stack Orlando. Again, in NBA, we don't stack for correlation. We stack because they're just in good spots and or the prices match up. So the prices are kind of iffy, but the spot is definitely phenomenal. I prefer Vooch and Enos as the main two to grab exposure to. I'm going to do the next game, and then I'll pop in the chat, see who's piling in. I know some of y'all piling late. Better late than never, though. Charlotte Hornets visiting the Toronto Raptors. We've got a 213.5 total, down from 214.5. That's a 1-point decrease. Toronto opened up minus 13.5. They're up to minus 14. Charlotte's had a day off. Toronto's had 2 days off. It is also a 3-4 for Charlotte, for anyone wondering. Obviously, Toronto's expected to head on that business. Let me see. On the Charlotte side, we know Malik Monk is out. I think that's going to lead to Graham and Rozier going back to their big minutes. I think it also is going to lead to Cody Martin seeing more run in the second unit. He's another interesting value play, at least on DraftKings. Assuming Cody Zeller is back, it could be a little, wishy-washy, I guess, with the bigs. He was out. I believe it was more for a rest thing. They were on a back-to-back, but Bismack Biyombo got the start. Hernan Gomez, we kind of gave him all a little bit of minutes, but None of them I'm too interested in. It's really the guards, Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, and like I said, if you want to work in some Cody Martin, I'm okay with that. In the last game without Monk, he only got 25 minutes, which is a minute less than he got the night before with Monk. But I'm cool with Graham. I'm cool with Rozier. Miles Bridges has played well. His price has come down. I'm interested in Miles Bridges. However, in the last game, I was a little alarmed that his minutes were down. He only got like 28. He's been getting like big ones, so I was a little surprised to see his minutes down, and now there's a body back with Zeller. So I'm sure it was matchup purposes. This is a team where Charlotte can go a little smaller, so maybe he slides in a little bit easier along with PJ Washington to play a lot of the 4 and the 5. So it's interesting, but the other thing, you got Siakam, so that's going to be a tough one for him. But he would be my third favorite. So it'd be Graham, Rozier, him, and like I said, as far as the value goes, it's mainly Cody Martin, but I don't know how much of him I actually get. I think that Devontae Graham was the one I was getting the most of, which I think makes the most sense. I think he's got the highest ceiling at this point, even though he's been a little inconsistent. And I think the minutes for Graham and Rozier should be a little bit more solidified now that Monk is gone. On the Toronto side, Fred VanVleet once again projects really well. A guy that I anticipate having a good chunk of exposure to, being that his price is low. He's coming off a terrible game against Milwaukee. I had so much of him too. It was just a nightmare. But he's in a bounce back spot. I'm cool with him at 6'5". Not just cool with him. I'm going to have a lot of them. On FanDuel, I would too. On DraftKings, I'm going to. Him and Serge Ibaka are the two mid-tier options that kind of just look really good. Ibaka is still questionable, so we got to keep an eye on that. But assuming Ibaka does play, him and Fred VanVleet are the easiest to get to, especially if you're going with more of a balanced build. Kyle Lowry, if you're looking to overspend, like I always say, game stacks, I'm always cool at overspending. And Pascal Siakam's in a phenomenal spot, and I don't think his price is all that bad. His minutes range anywhere from 34 to 38. We got him at about 37 right now. I guess if we wanted to be more aggressive on his exposure, we would raise him up to 38 and see what that would do. But it is a really good spot for him, there's no doubt. Really good spot for him. Looks like Luka Doncic is closer to probable today. That sucks. We'll talk about that later. But it's his birthday today. Anyway, VanVleet and Ibaka are the ones I like the most. So that's how we do that. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. We got a little comment action here. Mercamil TWD. Markelle Fultz. I'm all in. Oh shit. I'm with it. I hear you. I respect the stance, man. I always like to see when people take stances. Tell me though, Mercamil, why do you like Markelle Fultz so much? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't disagree. I know he definitely got the upside, so I'm not knocking you by any means. I just want to know. Maybe you know something that we don't. It's a really good spot, right? Point guards against Minnesota, but I mean everybody against Minnesota. That would be enough of an explanation. I'm just curious if there's something you got, because there's a lot of good plays on the slate. At point guard too, there are. Juice, what's your OG take on FanDuel? I'm fine with working them in. I got no problems with it. Any given day, OG can just have one of those explosive games. Usually it takes an injury for that to happen. Like if Ibaka got ruled out, I would definitely like OG. If Ibaka got ruled out, I would load up on OG on either site. But if Ibaka's in, I get a little nervous that he gets squeezed out, especially because I think Powell is questionable. Like he went through a full practice. He may actually return today. So just with one more person, like that could affect VanVleet a little bit more maybe. But I think OG is somebody who's involved and could get kind of shifted around on that. We did get a starting lineup for the Magic. Markelle Fultz, Evan Fournier, James Ennis, Gordon, and Vucevic. Definitely a positive that Ennis is starting. Enos, whatever you want to call him. Enos. But yeah, for OG, I'd like if Ibaka was out, I'd be willing. Obviously, if Ibaka was out, we'd have more value with Rondae Hollis-Jefferson most likely, or Boucher, depending on who started. But we'll have to wait and see if we get any news for that. Hopefully, I mean, it's one of the first games. We should get that news. So we'll see. Always ready to react. You know how it goes. All right, the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks. This game seems pretty juicy. Start with the road team. We've got a 236.5 total, up from 234.5. The Nets opened up -3. They are still at -3. Both of these teams have had a day off, but both of these teams are on the front end of a back-to-back. So this game has a tight spread. We anticipate it being close. So I wouldn't worry too much about them having a game tomorrow. Starting with the Brooklyn side, Taurean Prince seems like a solid value play. It's a revenge spot for him as well. Obviously, his minutes, he can play anywhere as low as 26 minutes. He can play anywhere as high as 31. I put him at around 30. He projects well for us on both sites. I'm willing to do it against Atlanta. I'm a little worried about the foul trouble if he has to match up with John Collins at all at the 4. But I do think he'll try to be a little extra aggressive as well on the offensive end. It's a really good spot for centers, so DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen are kind of interesting. The issue is projecting which one of these guys is going to get the minutes. Jared Allen at the beginning of the season was definitely getting it. And he got 18 minutes against Washington because he fouled out. But prior to that, he got 26 against Orlando and 25 against Charlotte. Played really well in both. So I think I do have some interest in Jared Allen. My concern, again, is that DeAndre Jordan was starting to kind of really, really eat into those minutes. DeAndre Jordan got 30 minutes against Washington because Jared Allen fouled out. He got 22 against Orlando, 20 against Charlotte. So between them going a little smaller and for just a few minutes of the game, and then DeAndre Jordan getting minutes in the mid-20s, Jared Allen's kind of been hung out to dry just a little bit. But maybe there's some room here to give him a little bit more than what I gave him initially, 24.25. Maybe if we give him I'll give him 25.75, just under 26. And see what that does, because his price is really attractive. On FanDuel, it's even easier to play him just because he's got the power forward eligibility. And this is a really good spot for centers, like we said. So I'm willing to take some shots on him, I think. Joe Harris. Everything else kind of blah. I mean, Garrett Temple, Joe Harris. If you want to do game stacks, load up any one of them is fine. But in reality, I think it's the main two as usual, Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie. LeVert's price has really gotten elevated on DraftKings, making it a little bit tougher to get him. You have to kind of over-project him in order to get him in. But on FanDuel, him and Dinwiddie are both well within reach. Obviously, I maxed out LeVert's, not even maxed out, but I raised LeVert's minutes pretty massive just to kind of give him a boost to reflect Kyrie Irving's absence. Different player, right? Him and Dinwiddie both different players when Kyrie's out, which he is out and will be out for quite a while. So LeVert and Dinwiddie are my mainstays as far as game stacks goes. I think everybody's fair game, but in reality, I like a few of these guys. I'm interested in Taurean Prince. I'm interested in Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and Dinwiddie. So there are quite a few players I'm interested even without game stacks. So if we were going to do a game stack here, I think it's kind of clear and ready to load up. And if you want to work in some Garrett Temple shares at that point, some Joe Harris, I think it's fine. On the Atlanta side, we did hear that Herter, Hunter, Trae Young are all expected to play. So we're expecting everyone to be healthy. And similarly to Brooklyn, they're all fine. I mean, the pace boost is on the Brooklyn side. Brooklyn is actually not that fast this year, but they're still terrible defensively, giving up a lot of offensive efficiency. Holla. Kevin Herter, I'm cool with. DeAndre Hunter's a minutes play. He just plays a ton of minutes, and I would assume he's going to continue to get that today in a soft matchup. I like Trae Young as one of the studs. We don't have a ton of value that I'm in love with, so I don't know how much of the studs I actually get. And Luka is around the same price. It's always hard for me not to take Luka, but in those scenarios. But Trae Young definitely in play. Curious to see what his ownership is. Point guards have destroyed Brooklyn for as long as I can remember at this point. And Collins is fine too. I mean, obviously his price is elevated, so he's probably someone I'd use more in a game stack because he's 8.6 on DraftKings and 8.5 on FanDuel. But he's going to play some minutes at the 5, and obviously we know he's a high per minute average player. So I'm okay with him more so for game stacks as far as like picking a player too. I'm more likely to take like a Trae Young, maybe a Kevin Herter, especially on FanDuel. Herter always projects well on FanDuel. Bruno Fernando for value if you need it. If you think you need it, if you feel comfortable with that. Fernando did play well in his last game, but he still only got like 20 or 21 minutes, or maybe it was 22 minutes. So we can't really have a high minute ceiling for him. John Collins is going to play some 5, which makes him all that more interesting. So, maybe Collins I do need to give a little bit more of a boost to. I mean, in certain situations we've seen him play more. I don't think projecting him for 36.5 minutes or 37 minutes is out of the realm. Let's just see what happens if I up him up to 36.5. I mean, you guys see 37 because of rounds, but I mean, it helped a little bit, more so on FanDuel, I guess because of the defensive stats he gets over there. Or oh no, he's $100 cheaper. But if we go to a full 37, see what that does. That should be enough, at least for raw points, to start getting him in. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So yeah, another great game stack. If I was waiting to see if people were going to get ruled out, get some value opened up, but it sounds like everybody's playing. So You don't want to force it. Nah, man. I don't want to force it. Force it. All right, let's see what else we got. Moving on to the next. We'll do this game, and then I'll pop back in the chat. OKC visiting the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a back-to-back for Oklahoma City. We know that. We have a 227.5 total, down from 229. We know Gallo is out. The Bucks opened up minus 10.5. They're up to minus 11.5. I would assume that is because of the Gallo news. Some people definitely knew he was going to be out, though. I mean, that's that. That's that. As far as the schedule goes, we mentioned that it's a back-to-back for Oklahoma City, the third game in 4 nights. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's had 2 days off. This is concerning to me because I have Schroeder projected as one of my top plays on the slate today. Obviously, he gets the biggest usage increase with Danilo Gallinari off the court. And with Gallo out, we anticipate him getting more minutes as well. So he's showing up as like one of the top options for us on both sides. So as of right now, I'm looking at a pretty heavy, like a pretty substantial ownership of him for myself, like shares, like how many shares I actually get. So that makes me, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a little nervous because this game does have a massive spread, and Milwaukee's had 2 days off. OKC's on a back-to-back on the road, so definitely a tough part in the schedule for him. But it's a process kind of thing, and Schroeder has typically performed well, or at least gotten more opportunity when Danilo Gallinari has been out. So I'll be playing a lot of them. Chris Paul, we raised his minutes as well, making him an interesting GPP play. Projects really well on DraftKings and FanDuel. With no Gallo, we anticipate his usage going up. He was averaging 1.23 fantasy points per minute with Gallo off the court. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're not afraid to play him big minutes, and I don't see why they wouldn't do it again today, being that they are missing Gallinari. Nerlens Noel, I had to lower a little bit. Adams is there, and I didn't mention Adams. I'm fine with Adams. I think that as far as rebounding, all that kind of stuff goes, it's got to help him in the long run with no Gallo there down at the 4. So I do like Adams going up against Brolo and Rolo and whatever center they want to throw at him. Adams obviously a real big guy. He didn't do so well yesterday, but he did do well the couple games before it. So not a guy I want to overreact, but I do want to kind of work him in at least a little. So the OKC side is a side I'm going to end up with a good amount of exposure to, but mainly Dennis Schroeder. If you want to work in Noel for value, you can. He plays well in limited minutes. Dort, Nader, all these guys have potential to see a little bit of increase, but like I said, I expect Schroeder to kind of get the bulk of it and people to kind of slide down. So, it's the main 4 for me here, and Schroeder's kind of at the top of my charts. Just a guy that I'm getting a whole lot of. So if he does bad, it's going to be a long night for this guy, unless something crazy happens and we get some other value, which enables me to kind of get off him a little bit more. On the Milwaukee side, they're 2 days rested. If you need George Hill for value, he's playing 20 to 22 minutes a game. He's not smashing it, but he's doing well enough that he would return you decent value on a $3,400 to $3,500 price tag. Just the ceiling, that's an issue with him, unless something happens in the game. Giannis is fine for a stud. I'm okay with them. OKC is one of the better defensive teams out there, or at least above average. And their pace isn't great, but if this game does stay close, Giannis should see big minutes, and he could end up going lower owned because this game doesn't seem as exciting. Middleton, if you want mid-tier, I'm good with Middleton. His price has come down to 7.6 on DraftKings, 7.2 on FanDuel. I think that's fair. He's somebody that has, of the 3, him, Bledsoe, and Giannis, he's the one that seems to be getting the minutes most consistently most nights. I'm okay with Bledsoe, but I do prefer him on FanDuel at 6.2. So there's definitely some options. This is another candidate. It's a 10-game slate, so we have a lot of games and some pretty good ones. And I don't particularly love the Milwaukee side. I like the OKC side a little bit more, but that's just because there's an injury over there, a significant injury, or a significant absence, I should say. I think it's more rest. But that's where we are with that. I'm going to pop in the chat before we go to the next game. Here we go. I got you. Merkel Mel was answering the Markel Fultz question. I asked him. It's the spot and a gut feel just for today. I feel you, man. Hey, ride your gut, man. Absolutely, man. I always tell people, man, it's your money. It's your money. You follow your gut. Obviously, there's always going to be people giving out content and trying to help with advice, but at the end of the day, it's your money. And, you want to follow your gut. Arizona Dream. Gordon starting for Magic? Yeah, I don't see why. Yeah, he's starting. Enos is starting at the 3. Ennis. I can never say his name right. Gordon's starting at the 4. He is. Arizona Drama says LeVert gonna smash. I mean, he looked really good, man. He's looked really, really good. I'm not denying that. Jamis has a good question. If Noah Ibaka and Boucher does not start, does that make you like him more because of the likely blowout? I don't think if Boucher started, that's the only way I would get significant exposure to him. Otherwise, of my 170 teams or whatever it is I built today, even if I wanted to take a shot on that, I couldn't do more than like 5 to 10%, because it's just like it's a probability thing. Like you're banking on too many. This is a sport that has like less variance than like baseball, less variance than football. So I don't like to rely on too many. I don't like to rely heavy exposures on players that are going to need variance to go their way. And when I say that, I understand there's a big Vegas spread, but they are still professional teams. So if the game, like you're banking on a blowout, and at what point does the game blow out enough to where he does get that run? You know what I mean? That's kind of my issue. I'm not saying you can't play him at all. And I'm not saying that at all. I think that the way you're thinking is great. But just for my personal style, I like to play the probabilities a little bit more. At least with my high exposure guys. Now, again, playing him at a 5-10% clip, I don't think there's a problem with that. Say you're building 10 teams, you want to throw him on like 1 or 2. I know that's really 20%, but you only got 10 teams, so it's the scale's a little bit different. So I'm okay with it, but I'm more likely to load up on RHJ, who's also cheap, if that's the scenario, assuming RHJ were to start. MG, toilet paper revenge, yes sir. Tarian Prince, TP, toilet paper. Revenge spot for sure. GQ Rock 007, love that name. LeVert or Ingram at small forward. Oh, that's tough, man. That's a really tough one. LeVert's obviously got the better game. Ingram's got the better price. Oof. I'm probably going to end up with more Ingram. They're both coming off awesome games. I'll probably end up with more Ingram, most likely. But I'm going to make sure to have some LeVert for sure. That's a really tough question. Good question. Very good question. Our boy David Miller, D. Millie. Well, I guess I'll play a random-ass NBA line to get this MLB ready. MLB money ready, boy. Yes, sir. MLB is coming, man. We're going to have some fun. MLB is coming. We're going to have some fun. But we are enjoying NBA, man. We've been really, really enjoying NBA. It's been a blast. A lot of us have had really good seasons, and it's been awesome. Avery Nairn Center. We're going game by game. We've gone over a few. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, Avery. So if you have a little more clarity to the question, I'd be glad to answer it. Frank Corona Jr. What up, Frank? Frank, my dude. Giannis tries and shows out since Harden called him out today. It's very possible. That's a good point. I'm sure you guys have seen all over Twitter that Harden called him out saying like, oh, if I was 7 foot tall and I can do this and that, I'd be. So that's actually a really good point if you want to play into the narrative. I'm glad you mentioned it just so we can inform everybody that Harden has been talking shit about Giannis, so maybe he comes out a little more pumped today. And like Giannis is already kind of growing on me just because I feel like he's going to be one of the lower owned studs. Things could change if we get more value opening up because then people are going to be able to afford those studs a little more easily. So, ooh, we just got some news though. Fred VanVleet listed out. No Fred VanVleet. That's going to make Lowry a much better play. Obviously. That's right. You heard it. We are getting another. Serge Ibaka listed out. Here we go. Ibaka's out. We got some changes to make, Nation. This is what this live stream is all about. Making sure everybody's updated with all the news. NBA is all about reactions. So here we go. So Serge Ibaka is out. Patrick McCall is available. Fred VanVleet is out. Norman Powell is probable to make his return. I know he had a full practice in. So we're going to wait for the starting lineup. I'm assuming that they're going to start RHJ, but there's no guarantee on that. If they start Boucher, I will load the fuck up on Boucher. If they start RHJ, I'll probably be looking at like, just an example. I have to actually run the projections and make the adjustments on the transition between the second half of the show. But I will say that this is how I'd probably play it, assuming RHJ starts. Say I had 50 or 60%. And Juice, OG, yes, I do like OG. Yes, I'm going to give OG a boost. That's a good point, Juice. You mentioned that earlier and I forgot, but good point. But as far as RHJ Boucher, I'm looking at, say I get like 50% RHJ. I'll set a rule not to play RHJ and Boucher together and maybe cap or try to work it so I have somewhere around like 15% or less of... I would say 15% or less. Because you know what? I forgot who it was that asked about it. Let me find you real quick. Jamis Boyce. Is it Jameis? Jameis, boys, my bad, bro. If I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize, man. But going back to you were talking about Boucher. Maybe 5 to 10% of the situation is a little low. Maybe we can go 15. You know what I mean? Or maybe 20 is that magic number. But I'm gonna set a rule not to have both. That's definitely something I'm gonna do. Speaking of Toronto, let's talk about usage rates before we move on, right? I'm actually gonna run the numbers and go over them with you guys so you guys can see, based off whatever samples we have this season, who's actually done well in these spots, or at least who gets usage increases, etc., etc. So no Ibaka and no Marcus Gasol. No Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet up in here. Let's see. All right. So Chris Boucher does show a 22.8% usage rate with a 1.44 fantasy points per minute. It's just a matter of, is he going to get the minutes? That's always the question. Terrence Davis probably becomes a really solid value play, but keep in mind that Norm Powell is here, so he's around. He's going to be floating around. Just keep that in mind. That could jam some things up. Powell was out all those games that Terrence Davis was kind of going nutty and doing his thing. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, 17.9% usage rate, 0.96 fantasy points per minute. That's pretty solid considering his cheap price. Kyle Lowry, 29.6% usage rate, 1.32 fantasy points per minute. This is obviously going to make Siakam also a much better play. Pascal Siakam, 33.1% usage rate, 1.42 fantasy points per minute. So definitely some big increases we have to address. OG Anunoby does not show a very big increase. And he's got a very small sample with all these guys out, only 85.3 minutes. Showing a 13.4% usage rate, 0.63 fantasy point per minute. But again, the samples are really small. And what it is, I think he's more likely to get more minutes. That's what I like about OG. I think he's more likely to see more minutes now that these guys are out. We'll see RHA take some center. We'll probably see some Siakam maybe even take some center. And I think OG will play a lot between the 3 and the 4. So, but keep in mind, they're not as thin as they used to be. That's something that we have to remember. So Toronto definitely just became a team that's a lot more interesting on this slate. It's still a really big spread. I mean, it's not going to come down that much just because those guys are ruled out. So the blowout's still definitely an option, but Toronto definitely a lot more appealing, and we will talk about that on the slate. Again, for those of you subscribed to WiseTake.com and are using the projections, I will update those projections. Therefore, the cheat sheet will be updated on the transition between this show and the next one. With that said, let's roll on to the next game. We got a lot to get through still. Cleveland Cavaliers visiting the New Orleans Pelicans. Nolans. Oh, shit. I clicked the wrong team. Start off with Cleveland. We have a 235 total. It's down 3 points from 238. New Orleans opened up minus 12, though it's minus 12.5. We know Drummond is expected to be out again. Tristan Thompson certainly viable. He's played well lately. Ever since they got Drummond, he's actually played a lot better. I guess he's just lighting a fire under his ass. But he projects really well for us. Larry Nance saw 31 minutes in the last game, and he played really well. I like him more on FanDuel, where he's power forward at 5'2". Kevin Love's price is also very, very low in a pretty good spot. Curious to see how his matchup goes with Zion. Maybe not the best in the world for him, but we know he's been getting around 33 minutes. He's got a solid usage rate. But there's actually some plays on Cleveland that are interesting. Tristan Thompson primarily on DraftKings for me. Larry Nance, I think on FanDuel I like even more. On DraftKings, the 5'9" price tag is just kind of weird, but he's been playing minutes. So I'm actually good with a lot of these guys. Kevin Porter Jr. is always an interesting value play. I don't think I get to him today, but they have talked about wanting to play him more and make him a bigger piece of the offense. The guards, Garland and Sexton, should be in for a lot of minutes. With no Drummond, their usage should be increased as well. So I'm actually cool with all those guys for sure. On the New Orleans side, we talked about Brandon Ingram a little bit. Projects well for us again. I was thinking I was getting around 30% or so of him. Zion Williamson, I think, is kind of interesting. Cleveland's been really bad against bigs. Zion is going to start at the 4, but he is going to get to play some center. And before Drummond got there, whether or not Drummond makes an impact or not, Thompson was getting roasted by bigs all season, just getting sliced up. So I do have interest in Zion in tournaments. Brandon Ingram is probably my favorite Pelican. I mean, the matchup is just phenomenal for all these guys. Lonzo Ball's minutes have been down a little bit. He's still playing in the 30s, but he was getting like 36, 37, which is why we played him so much. Now they're kind of down to 30, 31, 32, and Holiday's the one getting like 37, 38 minutes. So I'm actually okay with Holiday. I probably don't get there because his price is up so high. It's a phenomenal matchup. Guards against Cleveland have been phenomenal, and he's been playing a lot of point guard. So I'm okay with him. You like my pink drink? Definitely a game stackable game, but the blowout certainly an option, certainly on the table. Curious to run it. I can't wait to update these projections and run it because my teams are going to be looking a lot different now. I can tell you that. And they might still be changing. We still got more news on the way probably. Next up, we got the Dallas Mavericks visiting the Miami Heat. Where we at? Luka Doncic, still cheap. We got some value. It's going to be easier to play him. Matchup against Miami. Miami plays slow. We have a 228.5 total down. 1.5 points from 230. Miami opened up minus 2.5. They're up to minus 4.5. That's kind of weird. It kind of makes you wonder. Because, I mean, Carlisle says that Luka is closer to probable. It's Luka Doncic's birthday today. February 28th is Luka Doncic's birthday. He was just in Miami, right? So at midnight last night, this morning, whatever you want to call it, he turned 21 years old. So he was legally allowed to drink in the United States of America. And he was in Miami. What a world. What a spot. I mean, dude was blessed with all this NBA talent. And, things just continue to work for him. So I like Luka. How much do I like Luka? I want to like him a lot because I do think he's underpriced. What do you guys? Do you guys think this man was in Miami with all his teammates and didn't go out for his 21st birthday and get hammered at some Miami strip club somewhere or a regular club, whatever? What do you think? I don't know Luka well enough to know. We had someone in here earlier from the 305 from Miami saying that he had it on some authority. Oh, it is Jameis. Okay, cool. That he had it on some good authority. That he was out partying. So we'll see. But yeah, in the meantime, I do like Luka's price. If things were to flip and he got ruled out, that would make Porzingis a phenomenal play. It would also cause us to look at like Tim Hardaway Jr. The point guard position would kind of be wide open. I would expect JJ Barea and DeLon Wright to split that, and they would both be pretty awesome value plays. So it's just a matter of Luka. What are you doing? But if Luka's in, which again Carlisle said he was probable, then I would think he's gonna. Merkel Miller said, "Of course he did." Right? That's how I mean, come on. Who wouldn't though, right? Who wouldn't? I see some questions in here. I'm gonna pop back in a second. Let me just talk about the Miami side, guys. If you didn't hit the like button already, please do. I see a bunch of people in here. It's awesome. I appreciate y'all checking us out, supporting us. But the likes really go a long way. Those like buttons allow us to continue to do this. It causes YouTube's algorithm to push us more. And we need to grow, man. We need to grow. We're not big enough for us to sustain, to keep this thing rolling. So we need to get more eyes on us. We need to get more viewers. We need to get more, dirties done. So y'all do the dirty for me and hit that like button when you can. On the Miami side, I like Jimmy Buckets today. I think that we got Devin Booker who's going to soak up a lot of ownership. I think Buckets is going to go fairly low owned, and I think the price is reasonable on both sides. Bam Adebayo is in a pretty good spot. But his price has really gotten elevated to 9-1 on FanDuel, 8-8 on DraftKings. We have a lot of good centers already. We've got other power forwards or other bigs to consider, such as Pascal Siakam, possibly Porzingis, depending. So to be honest with you, it's mainly Butler. On FanDuel, I'm good with Kendrick Nunn. On DraftKings, I'm not in love with the price. On FanDuel, I'm actually good with Jay Crowder too. Crowder, Nunn, and Butler on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's really just Butler for me. I just don't trust the rest of the guys, and we just have better spots. I feel better games, right? So we'll wait for the news on Luka, and we will react accordingly. But there's not a ton in this game that I'm like super big on if Luka's in, aside from Luka and Butler for me personally. Holla. Yep. Oh man, I gotta start making some notes so I remember what the hell to update, because I got a feeling we're about to get a plethora of news. Some expected and some not expected, but I have a feeling we're about to get hit with some news. So, Van Fleet. Should have just said Toronto. Anyway. Okay, so Arizona drama. Damian Jones for center for value and sneaky play. I mean, I don't know if we need him anymore. Now that we have some value opening up in Toronto, you can take a shot on Boucher, who's got a higher point per minute average. You can take a shot on RHJ, who's expected to get more minutes than you would think Damian Jones would get. I just don't know if we need him. Dominic Ray, Jordan, or Thompson? DeAndre Jordan? If it's DeAndre Jordan, then I would say Thompson. Juice, OG all day. You had a feeling. You were right, bro. You were right, Juice. Smashing. Chris Middleton is questionable now. Holy shit. Is that right? Is he not questionable? That could really change the slate. I'll load the hell up on Giannis if he gets ruled out. If he gets ruled out, I will play the shit out of Giannis and Bledsoe. Because Middleton is probably their best actual shooter. So they're going to need some help scoring, and I think we'll see those two become really a lot more aggressive with their shot taking. There'll be other things in between that open up as well. But, again, on the transition of the show, I'm going to update the projections. And therefore, the cheat sheets, which are automated, will also update. So for those of you subscribed to WiseTake.com, just bear with us. Says Terrence Davis. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped a couple questions. Jameis, like Jameis Winston. There you go. My bad, Jameis. I appreciate you clearing that up, man. I see you in here once in a while. I got to say your name right, bro. I don't like to, I don't like to see nobody's name wrong. GQ Rock 007 with the Raptors news, Siakam might be the play. I agree, man. I think Siakam's a phenomenal play now. Especially because the matchup for him is just juicy. Gallinari from OKC is ruled out tonight, bro. What do you think about Damian Jones? Oh, okay, yeah. We talked about Damian Jones. No. Yeah. We talked about Damian Jones before already. My bad, drama. I answered your question before and you asked it again because time had passed. My bad on that one. GQ Rock 007 says Terrence Davis and Boucher starting now. Is that official or is that the projected lineup? I don't trust none of them. I mean, it's nice. It's good to look at those things to give you an idea, but I always prefer, I know that a lot of times those projected lineup, the coaches do some weird shit sometimes, man. A lot of times the coaches get a little too cute. They feel like they know best and they try to get sneaky and do some weird things. I do see I think I see what you're talking about here. On like RotoWire has the projected lineups and they have Boucher projected as the starter. Very simple on this one, guys. Whoever starts at center, I'm going to have a shit ton of. So if it's Boucher, I'm playing a shit ton of him. Either way, I'm playing a rule on the optimizer. Whatever it is you use, it should have rules where I do not want RHJ and Boucher together. Give me one or the other, and you can give me a shit ton of them, but give me one or the other, and I want more of the one who is starting. That simple. If Terrence Davis does start, I'm good with that too. I forgot what his price is. Terrence Davis, 4,100. So again, guys, like the value is about to get insane at this point. Right, we're starting to get a lot of value. It's going to push this a little more stars and Scrubsy, and it's going to lower the ownership of some of the mid-tier plays. That's what's going to happen. Coming at you hard and long. Hard and long. That's how we do it here. Let me see. Yeah, didn't think so. All right, let's keep things rolling, guys, because we got 15 minutes, and I still got some games to get to. Oh shit, we got like 4 games. Sacramento at Memphis. I don't care. We go a little over. It's not a big deal. Those guys can wait to come on. No big deal. I'll let them do a lot of the talking anyway because I got to update these projections. All right. On the Sacramento side, De'Aaron Fox still questionable. If he gets ruled out, I'm more than willing to go back to Kojo, who is 3,600 on FanDuel, 35 on DraftKings. Corey Joseph, for those who don't know his nickname. I was very disappointed Buddy Hield didn't get the run that I thought he was going to get yesterday. So I'd probably back off at this point. Bogdanovich, I'm okay with though. If Fox was out, I'd be okay with him. I'm good with some of these Kings in general. It's just when everybody's healthy, the rotations get wonky. If Fox plays, I'm cool with him. We just have a lot more optimal plays at this point. But I would like to try to work some of him in. Harrison Barnes has been getting a ton of minutes. By the way, this game has a 226.5 total, down from 229. The Grizzlies are actually 3.5 point favorites at home. This is a back end of a back-to-back for Sacramento, a front end of a back-to-back for Memphis, for anyone wondering. But there's just not a ton I want to take a shot on in Sacramento outside of maybe Fox, unless Fox gets ruled out. Then we'll look at Kojo. Then we'll really kind of look in here and see who else we want to get exposure to. Maybe we raise our exposure to Bjelica, assuming he is more active as well. He played well last night. On the Memphis side, Jonas Valanciunas, I don't want to ignore. His minutes have been down, but he could really do some work in this spot. I understand the minutes have been down. It's just the way the game flow, and he hasn't been playing super efficient, but that could obviously change. After that, it gets murky. Gorgie Dieng's minutes were way down last game, but that was a blowout, so they just didn't give him the garbage time run. Curious to see if he gets a little bit more run today, but his price is elevated, so it's not as juicy. John Morant's been playing like shit, but we know he has massive upside. If Melton starts, I like Melton. The price is increased, so I'm a little but if he starts, I'd be okay with him and Dylan Brooks. Josh Jackson, obviously, for value is interesting, but it just seems that we have stronger value. There's just nothing really here that stands out a ton to me if everybody's healthy. And the Memphis team is actually the quicker team, is actually the faster paced team, if you will. So this game just isn't as exciting as some of the other ones. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's going to be low owned. It's just not as exciting as some of the other ones. Detroit at Phoenix, we have a 218.5 total down from 219.5. The Suns opened up -7.5. They're up to -9. That's a pretty significant movement. Detroit's been terrible, right? Like, they've been fucking awful. And it's on purpose. They got rid of Drummond. They got rid of anybody who was at least considered a decent player at one time, except for Derrick Rose. Speaking of Derrick Rose, I do like his price. He did play 28 minutes in his last game and played well. He's going to be matched with Ricky Rubio. It's a really good matchup for Rose. Obviously, the problem with Rose is he ain't playing no 33, 34 minutes. That ain't happening no more. He tried that earlier this year. He ended up getting hurt, which is what they didn't want. I'm surprised he's even still here. They waived everybody else. Why not waive him? I do like Christian Wood. I actually do like Christian Wood. I think he's going to be matched up with like Dario Saric. I think that's a matchup he can win on the offensive end. With that said, I like Saric on the other side. We'll talk about that a little later. But I do like Christian Wood. Bruce Brown is questionable. If Bruce Brown gets ruled out, then we can look at Svi. We can look at Sekou Doumbouya. Some of these guys get some extra run. He's questionable, but Christian Wood and Derrick Rose are my main two plays from the Detroit side. On the Suns side, we know that Kelly Oubre is out, so we're expecting these guys to continue to get some boosts. As far as the schedule goes, Detroit is working with 2 days rest. Phoenix has had 1 day off. It is the front end of a back-to-back, so keep in mind they have a game tomorrow. But Dario Saric on FanDuel, phenomenal price. Played 31 minutes in his last game. On DraftKings, I'm even cool with him. 48 is not as attractive, and we have better options at this point, but I'm okay with it. Christian Wood is a terrible defender. That's one of the reasons he's having a hard time sticking around on an NBA team. Ricky Rubio's usage, he's been playing a lot better lately again. And we saw him play awesome beginning of the season. He hit his slump, was playing terrible. Now he seems to be on the rise. And Oubre's out, so they kind of need him a little bit more. I'm okay with him for tournaments. Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton are the main actual plays for me in this game. Everyone else are kind of more game stack options, mainly Rubio and Saric. But I do like Devin Booker. I expect him to be pretty popular. He was projected to be one of the highest owned players on the slate, but that was before all this news broke out, so we'll have to see if anything changed there. And I do like DeAndre Ayton, man. Between Henson and Thon Maker and Christian Wood, Detroit is just going to get smoked by centers for the rest of the season. And DeAndre Ayton is obviously going to get somewhat of a boost with Kelly Oubre out in rebounds, and Oubre, one of the more aggressive players on the team. So I expect Ayton to see a boost here. I think he's a phenomenal option at center day. We have a few of them in the mid-tier, and he's one of them. So I actually like this game despite the lower total. The Washington Wizards visiting the Utah Jazz. We have a 232.5 total. The Jazz opened up -10.5, and that is where the line currently resides. Both teams working with a day off. It's a 4-6 stretch for Washington on the road. Tough place to play in Utah. I keep saying that, and then Utah keeps losing at home in these situations. They've been like one of the worst teams in these situations for whatever reason. They're just a mess. Starting with the Washington side, if Napier starts, I'm interested in Napier. I was a little concerned he didn't close. He only got 24 minutes. Now, in the first quarter, he had 2 fouls in 2 minutes, so he immediately came out. But he didn't play well. He took a ton of shots. This is why I still like Napier if he starts. If he doesn't start, then I'm worried about ceiling. But if he does start, he only got 24 minutes, but his usage rate was 29.8. He took 15 shots in 24 minutes. He only made 4 of them. 1 for 6 from 3. He had 5 assists. He was just really inefficient from the field, so they decided to pull him in a close game against Brooklyn. Had he been a little bit more efficient, like against Milwaukee in that overtime game, he shot 10 for 17 from the field. That's how you get the 47 DraftKings points. But even if he would have just made another 3 or 4 shots, he would have hit value no problem. But unfortunately, he didn't. He was terrible. So I like the aggressiveness that he showed, that he demonstrated. If he starts, I'm going to bet that he could be a little bit more efficient this time around. Mike Conley on the other side is not a slouch of a defender. Something to keep in mind. But I'm waiting for news before I make a decision on Shabazz. Bradley Beal, man, his usage has been
awesome since the All-Star break. And his minutes have been through the roof recently. He's been playing, like, initially after the All-Star break, he was getting like 34, so I was reluctant to play him. But he's back to getting 39 minutes, 38 minutes. There was an overtime game where he only got like 41, so you might take away the 5 overtime minutes, and that's the 36. We don't want 36. We want 38 or higher if we're going to play Beal. So if you think he's going to get 38 or higher, fire away. Or not necessarily lock and load, but get some. And I think we can. After that, Washington's is kind of crowded. I'm okay with Bertans. I'm okay with Rui Hachimura. It's just crowded, right? But it's Napier and Beal are the main two that I'm kind of interested in, at least on some level. The Utah side is a little more interesting. I love Mike Conley today at his price. 5-1 on DraftKings. 5-5 on FanDuel. There's probably a couple guys who are a little softer, but on DraftKings, I like Mike Conley a lot of 5-1. He's been playing upwards of 33, 34 minutes. I put him at 32 to be conservative, and he's still almost at 6x for us. This is a big pace-up spot for them, for the Utah Jazz. So I like Mike Conley quite a bit. I like Rudy Gobert a lot. This is a great spot for centers. Gobert's been awful, but his price is now down because he's been awful. And this is just a smash spot for centers. Rudy Gobert not as aggressive as some of the other centers out there, but just on rebounds and blocks alone, he could probably do some work here. And Donovan Mitchell's been playing really well. On FanDuel, the price is still relatively soft. On DraftKings, it's elevated, but he's played really well lately. And again, this is a pace-up spot. I expect more opportunities to go around for these guys. So I'm okay. The Utah side, obviously the more attractive side here. But Gobert and Conley are my two favorites from the Utah side. 30s and 7s. Let me pop in that chat before I get to this last game, man. Pop in that chat. Pop in that chat before I get to this last game, man. Adam says, I feel your news is going to drop and change this slate. Always, man. Always. That is always the case. Again, I say it every time, man. NBA is a reactive game. The NBA DFS is a reactive game. How well do you react? Because you're going to get news. You don't know when you're going to get it, but you're going to get it. How well can you react? Right? And in the NBA, like in MLB, once in a while, a player gets scratched or a lineup comes out that's unique. But most of the time, those lineups are out to at least 2 hours before the game even starts. A pitcher's going to get scratched. It happens. It's like a rarity. In the NBA, it's every single day. You're just looking. Who's going to be the one, right? D. Millie, LD style. You know, yeah, buddy. Tyrone. I know. Y'all are on YouTube, so I know, if y'all watch YouTube, y'all know who Tyrone is. When we say LD style, I'm filtering myself, but yeah. Arizona drama. Middleton got a neck problem. He will most likely sit. I like LeVert and Mitchell, but Beal and Booker hard to fade. Yeah, no, I agree. I also like LeVert and Mitchell. It's a deep position. Beal and Booker, just for those 4 plays, it's a very deep position. Middleton has a neck problem. If he misses, like I said, I'll be ready to raise exposures to Giannis, especially. He'll become my favorite stud most likely. And then I want to work in some Bledsoe too in that sense because I think they will be more aggressive. We're getting more and more people in here. I appreciate y'all piling in. Please hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. The like button, I can't stress enough how much it helps us, how much we need it. So I appreciate all y'all in here, man. The support that we get every day doing this thing, man. This is what I do constantly. I do this 24/7, just constantly working on projections, working on our content to try to give you guys the best. Whether you're a subscriber at WiseTake.com or just somebody who checks out our YouTube channel and all that stuff, we appreciate you either way. You have a role in supporting us. So if y'all could hit the like button, it really goes a long way, man. I appreciate y'all. And y'all have been great in doing that when we've asked. So, let's see. Smashing says RHJ is starting. Did we get that confirmed? Dennis Smith Jr. out for Saturday. I hate when they give us news for Saturday. Okay, yeah. So there we go. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson and Norman Powell will start for Ibaka and Van Fleet. So Powell's actually going to get the start. It's a hand injury. I wonder if he's on it. I mean, if he's gonna start, I would assume he's not on any kind of limitation. Oh, quick! We got a starting lineup for the Hawks. Hawks are gonna start Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, and Collins. So Hunter's gonna go to the 4. That's a plus, I think, for Taurean Prince. Now that he's not gonna be matched up with Collins right away. And to be honest, I think it's a plus for Collins. I really do. I think it's a plus for Collins if he's gonna start at the center. This is a phenomenal spot for centers against Brooklyn. So this is even, I mean, he would have been fine at the 4, but now that he's playing the 5, competing with like Bruno Fernando and Damian Jones for rebounds should be a little bit tougher, at least. It's a little bit than Hunter, just because they're bigger than Hunter. So expect Collins to get a few more boards and then be a little bit more active offensively, maybe take some higher percentage shots close to the basket. As far as Powell goes, I'm just curious as to how much is there a limitation? He's been out for a while. He's had a full practice, but he's been out for a while. So I'm wondering. It's interesting. If they're starting him, I'm assuming that they feel okay about it, right? Like, I'm assuming. So all we can do is assume. See, this is when big slates get messy. When you start to get too much news everywhere. For sure. All right. What else we got here? Let's move on. We got the last game, and then we'll take a little break. Bring on Stevie and Paulie. Denver Nuggets visiting the Los Angeles Clippers. All right, so we've got a 219 total, 219 and a half total, down from 220 and a half. The Clippers opened up -6. They're up to -6.5. This is a pretty interesting game. I know the total is not as great as some of the other ones out there, but this is like two playoff contenders right here. So our playoff teams. So I do think these games typically a lot of the players excel, step it up a little bit. Denver's working with 2 days rest. LA's working with 1 day rest. So both teams are fairly rested. And neither of them seem to play tomorrow. On the Denver side, this is a smash spot for Jokic. Obviously, his price is up, but he's going to be very low owned today. We've already talked about Ayton, Gobert, Tristan Thompson, Jared out. We've talked about so many centers already. Vooch, even for the spend ups. And then you got Jokic all by himself at 9.6 and 9.8, as a late night hammer. The issue, of course, is when Denver's healthy, Jokic is not afraid to take a back seat and just kind of let other guys do their thing. However, following the matchup funnel, he's got the best matchup on the board. Their biggest weakness by far is the center. So I do like Jokic. I want to make sure I work some in. And maybe with this value, it'll be a little bit easier to work him in. Let me see. I wonder if I had any. Yeah, I wasn't getting. I mean, you can see his projection is not bad. I just wasn't getting any of them. But again, I think this is going to help us get some more of them. Now that we have all this value opening up. So I do like Jokic. Jamal Murray, he's going to play the minutes. His price is elevated. He's going to play the minutes and do all that. He's fine. I think Paul Millsap, I wouldn't be surprised to see Paul Millsap step up his game a little bit today against the Clippers. Obviously, they struggle against all bigs. There's not a very big team. So even for him, I think the matchup is fine. Like I said, curious to see if he steps it up. Will Barton is very cheap. He hasn't played all that great lately. His minutes have been a little weird lately, but obviously we know what Will Barton is. We know he's a main piece of this offense. We know he's going to score and be aggressive. Obviously, it'd be better if somebody was out, but I'm still willing to take some shots on Barton in the mid-tier. I'd love to play Michael Porter Jr., but he just recently got into the rotation. They haven't really been playing him much, so not much room to work with there. On the Clippers side, Kawhi Leonard, I'm fine with. As a low-owned stud, we have the value to make it work. Paul George, though, is the one I'm a little bit more interested in. His minutes have gradually been increasing. This is the third time he's dealt with a hamstring strain, so they were obviously being a lot more cautious with him. I'd be surprised if he's played on any back-to-backs. It's not a back-to-back. I'm just saying in general. I'd be surprised if he did going forward. But his price is still low. We can really take advantage of this. 7-1 on DraftKings, 7-3 on FanDuel. He's gradually seen increased minutes. So George got 15 minutes his first game back. No, I'm sorry. 21 minutes his first game. He's only been back for 2 games. 21 minutes his first game back. And then 28 minutes against Phoenix. So it did go up. The usage is fine. 24.2, 25.8. Obviously, he hasn't been very efficient. He's been missing a lot of shots. But the fact that he went from 21, 28. Now, granted, against Memphis, that was actually a blowout. Kawhi Leonard sat that game, I believe, and it was just like they just blew him out, destroyed him. Oh no, Kawhi Leonard did play. Anyway, they destroyed him. Wasn't even close. He got 28 against Phoenix, so I do think it's possible he gets 30 to 31 today if this game is close, and I anticipate it being close. And again, if this game is close, they're going to need everybody to kind of contribute. So those are my first 2. Montrezl Harrell is interesting, kind of scary because now this team is fairly deep. The minutes are kind of up and down, but he's been playing a consistent 26. Lou Williams' his minutes have been down. Now, he's the one that's kind of suffered the most with Reggie Jackson and Pat Bev getting healthy and Marcus Morris being on the team, all this stuff. So it's hard for me to mess with too many of these guys. It's really Kawhi and PG, and then Harrell would be my off the ball like try. And then I guess a fourth for value would be Patrick Beverly for value at 4-1. But late night hammer, if you want to get some exposure, if you don't want the last game to be started, you don't have any, then you're going to want to come here and figure it out, whether you do 1 team, 2 teams, or whatever. Denver, Clippers, whatever the case may be. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the game by game. Oh yeah, I appreciate y'all, man, out there, warriors out there. Oh, I skipped a couple questions. Let me see. I wonder, Arizona Drama. I wonder if Rudy or Ayton will have a better game tonight. What do you think? I like them both a lot. I think Rudy may come in a little lower owned because Ayton always does well. Rudy's the one that's really been struggling, so I think Rudy will be a little bit lower owned today. I kind of like that, but I do like them both. I'll have a good amount of both. GQ Rock 007. Would you prefer Siakam over Zion? Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's a process thing. Nick, don't sleep on SGA. That is correct. Nick, hit that like button. Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Nick. Yeah, y'all are soldiers. You know that? Y'all are soldiers. And I'm the son of a soldier, so I can recognize. My father, retired Command Sergeant Major in the Army. Hoorah. Much love for the military. Brian Torty, longtime WiseTake Nation member. OG member, Brian. I see you, man. You need a raise for all the work you do. I try to give myself a raise sometimes, but people don't like when the owner of the company gives himself a raise, right? In all seriousness, there's not much to give me a raise to. So, but I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I'll continue to do it as long as everybody's here supporting us and everybody's doing their thing, having a good time, and showing their support any way they can. I'll be here. I'll be here. This is my baby. I ain't going nowhere. This is my thing. This is what I do. So is Hollis Jefferson starting? Yes, Hollis Jefferson is starting. What is the value? From Daryl. We just got a bunch of it, man. So we're looking at the injuries. So I think Rondae Hollis Jefferson's phenomenal value play. You can take a shot on Powell or Terrence Davis. They're probably going to rotate in at the 2. We got more, I think, too, right? We get some injuries. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the second half. I'll bring on Stevie and Paulie. They can talk to you guys a little bit while I adjust these projections. But yeah, look for the injuries. Whenever there's an injury, there should be value opening up. Chris Middleton is questionable. That could lead to some value. But right now, RHJ is the obvious answer in terms of the value. And don't forget about James Ennis. I'm still cool with James Ennis as of now. There may be some stuff opening up that looks better, but I'm okay with that too. Nick says Jeremy Grant or Hollis Jefferson. Hollis Jefferson for me. Now, if there's an injury later on to Denver that could change that. If Millsap will get ruled out, then maybe it'd be Grant. But in this situation right now, being that Ibaka's out and Hollis Jefferson is now starting, it's Hollis Jefferson, Nick. That's how I do that. All right, Nation, don't go anywhere. Those of you who hit the like button, I appreciate it. Those of you who haven't, please do. We'll be back with part 2 of the Wise Stream. I'm going to bring on Stevie and Paulie. We'll talk some game theory, try to answer more questions, and more importantly, try to keep you guys informed all the way up until lock on any other late-breaking news. We still got some guys questionable and all that kind of stuff. So hit the like button if you haven't already. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to put a little background music on a still screen while I set up for part 2 of the show. And we will be back in a little bit.
What up, nation? Welcome to the second half of the NBA Wise stream. It's all good, Stevie. I always mute you guys because you motherfuckers always try to talk when I do the intro, so I always mute you guys anyway when we start the show. Welcome to part 2 of the NBA Wise stream. Joined once again by the GOAT Paulie D, who you can find on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, baby?
Also joined by our boy, cash game specialist, if you will. Him and our boy Shai Beasley do a phenomenal job with the cash game article every single day. They rotate doing it, both doing awesome. Stevie Brown, you know downtown Stevie Brown. We get down with Stevie Brown. You can find him on Twitter at Stevie Brown DFS. Stevie, my man, I know your schedule has been a little bit busy, man. It's always good to get you on the show, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. It's motherfucking Friday, 10-game slate. I'm excited now, waiting on this fucking Middleton news, but it's a good slate. We have a good now with Raptors news, a good bottom tier. We have some good mid-range, like upper tier stuff with like the Suns guys there, and like if Middleton's out, like how do you not play Giannis? So it's pretty interesting.
Interesting to say the least. It's a weird feature. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm with you, man. We got a lot. Like, it's funny because when I was doing the game by game, I'm like, all right, so there's a lot of shit I got to do to update these projections. And really, it was just the Toronto news. It's just, everything else is a maybe. Everything else is a hypothetical. This guy's questionable. Obviously, we heard Middleton's questionable, but we haven't actually heard that anybody's actually out other than Ibaka, other than the Raptors, Ibaka and Van Fleet. So obviously, there's a lot of people questionable. It's a 10-game slate, one of the bigger ones. We haven't had a slate this big in a while, it feels like. So as always, be ready to react, and we'll try to keep the nation updated and make sure that they get the latest and greatest. With that said, Paulie, I'm going to start with you, man. Talk to me about your overall thoughts.
Ooh, I had some, and things are changing, but generally 10-game slates are very deep in the mid-tier, and I don't see a ton of value that is like lock value, you know what I mean? Like the under 4K kind of stuff that's going to 10x. There's some plays I like, but I think, if you want to grab a stud that's like, above 10K, it's one, today. Pick your favorite kind of thing. And then you don't need to get 2 stars in Scrubsy. I think there's a lot of like solid mid-tier stuff between 4K and 7K that, ultimately will be the optimal lineup today. So I'm in the max of 1 stud or 2 guys from like the 8 to 10K. And I'm not like in love with any like the super cheap value, although we may end up getting some, stuff's just starting to pop off. And there are some. I'm not saying there's nothing down there, but my ultimate thoughts on the slate is a balanced build rules the day. Where you at, Stevie?
No, I'm in the same boat as you, man. Like, it's tough to play. Even if Middleton's out, I still think that mid-tier is so strong. Like I said earlier, between like Booker, Ayton, Wood. If Jimmy Butler's like a nice price tag too. If like Middleton's out, like Giannis becomes a lot more appealing. So is Bledsoe, and like Bledsoe's cheap. So, and we don't have like Boucher's nice, and like I guess he has a decent ceiling with a sizable floor too. But we don't have those 3K, 4K guys who are projected for like 8, 9x easy today. That we can say we have guaranteed production coming from a cheap guy to get like a Luka, a Giannis, and stuff like that. So it is kind of tough to get to that top range still, even with like the Raptors news, and even if Middleton sits, like there's no guy from the Bucks that like George Hill maybe, but he doesn't even round out lineups to give you those top end guys a lot.
Yep, yeah. Ibaka and Van Fleet got ruled out, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just
Chris
looking at
Middleton officially ruled out.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Official. Chris Middleton officially ruled out. I mean, come on. We all knew that was coming, right? Anytime a player this close to game time gets questionable,
Midday
like, come on.
downgrade.
Come on. Well, I guess with that said, and after hearing your overall thoughts, I had to step away. Obviously, the puppy I got is amazing, well behaved, but he be having these these nightmares, bro, and it scares the ever living shit out of me. He'll start shaking, looking like he's seizuring or something, and then I wake him up, and he wakes up and he's fine. But so if you see me step away, it's because he's doing some freaky shit that scared the shit out of me. With that said, Paulie, you first, man. I know it just happened. We need some time to process this. I know Stevie was kind of already anticipating this to be a thing, but let's talk about Chris Middleton and the Milwaukee Bucks in general. That wasn't a team that I was initially going to go really heavy on. Giannis was a stud that I kind of made peace. I wasn't going to have a lot of. But now, Middleton being out is a fucking big deal, right? He's their best actual shooter. So they're going to need somebody to step it up. There's a little bit of a better chance this game stays close. I know Milwaukee's rested, 2 days rest. OKC's in a back end of a back-to-back. On the road. Tough spot. But this obviously levels the playing field out at least a little bit when you consider Gallo's out on the other side. Paul, you first. Talk to me about what do you think this means for you in Milwaukee?
Well, I think this game plays very fast. Like Danilo is a slow offensive setup kind of player, come off screens, standard sets. Now they're probably going to run a lot of 3-guard stuff with Adams or Noel at the 5, and I think the game just plays fast. Milwaukee's going to be pacing OKC up. OKC has been very tough this year. The West is certainly better than the East, even though Milwaukee's the best team in the East and maybe one of the better teams in the NBA. I think OKC can keep this close if they're motivated. They had that nice comeback yesterday. They should come in on a high note. And even without Danilo, I think they're good enough to keep it close. The interesting thing is I'm looking at Milwaukee. I really outside of Bledsoe and Giannis, I'm still not that interested in anything else with Middleton off. I'm sure there's something else that, DiVincenzo, maybe Connaughton, or I don't know, Ersan Ilyasova, that could be worth it, but they're still deep. There's a lot of bodies that could play minutes. I don't know if there's a ton on Milwaukee that I'm in love with, and I still like other games better, but, in reaction to the Middleton news, it's, I like Giannis anyway, but now I like him, probably top 3 studs on the slate. And, Bledsoe certainly gets a boost who I wasn't even really thinking about.
Yeah, I agree. Stevie, what about you, man? I know from a cash game perspective, I know you mentioned you're pretty much just playing cash today. So how do you approach the situation in cash relative to the Toronto situation?
I mean, obviously Bledsoe, Giannis become the main 2 beneficiaries there, and like I said earlier, it's still super hard to get to Giannis. But I think where George Hill was kind of appealing in his own before, a 3-4 guy, and he has a decent floor where we could have got you 18, 19. Maybe there is a little bit more, and now so it's not even just getting 18, 19 out of a 3K guy, but now he lets you get to Giannis, which is already difficult before, while being able to play 2 other studs. You can go Giannis, Devin Booker, Ayton if you love them tonight. So I think Hill becomes really appealing just because of what he allows you to play. If you want to get the full production out of them, maybe the total moves a couple points, but they're still going to be sitting around at 118, 120 team total too. I don't mind playing Giannis and Bledsoe together, both kind of underpriced now without Middleton, and should get huge production out of them. In what's projected was an 11-point game, and I think it does stay kind of close for them to get full allotment of minutes. So you can even go Hill, Bledsoe, and Giannis if you want. The bulk production out of Bledsoe, Giannis, George Hill in there as a value guy who does have upside too. So I like that route a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned George Hill. He's been playing decent minutes as is. Now, one of the games he got 22 minutes, he closed in overtime, but then the very next game was not overtime. He still got his 22 minutes and still played fairly well. Obviously, ceiling is an issue. I guess it's more about who are you trying to get. A guy like George Hill will help you get Giannis if you're looking to do that, but I guess you have to make a decision on if you want to go stars and scrubs or if you want to go mid-tier, because as of now, even an RHJ, it's not like he's 3K, right? He's 4-1 or something like that. So it's still like a mid-tier-ish value. You'll get that one, like I think, like you were saying, you'll get that one extra Devin Booker type play, right? That's 8K.
Mm-hmm. With George Hill?
No. I'm saying if you elect not to go with George Hill, but elect to go with like Rondae Hollis Jefferson type value. That's not quite in the threes. Yeah. It's like in the low fours, mid fours. We got a few of these things. We're still waiting on a Memphis starting lineup, but we can potentially get Corey Joseph opening up. So still a lot to wait for, but I do generally agree. With that said, let's dive into the Toronto situation a little more thoroughly. Paulie, I'm going to you for tournaments right now. We know Hollis Jefferson is the starter. We heard Powell is starting. It's his first game back after a long absence. He practiced in full. I'm assuming if they're going to start him, then he must be good to go. And then, of course, you got Chris Boucher, who I'm seeing projected for 30% ownership, even though he's really never worked in this spot. He's still going to be playing some backup set, or at least you would think, unless Siakam does. Talk to me about Toronto in general, Paulie.
Yeah, Powell and RHJ are the value pieces I like the most by far. Powell was really starting to look awesome right before he got hurt. Definitely concerned about how many minutes he's going to get. But, like you said, full practice.
What do you think is realistic for minutes? Like, you
25 to 30 if the game's close.
Yeah, that's fair. That's right. That's cool. That's cool.
Right. And, he could go for 35 like he's done multiple times in 25 minutes. Like, at 4-6, you love that, and it's like the optimal opponent except for the pace. I think Lowry's been playing awesome. Powell returning to the starting lineup, I don't know. I guess it's a wash between him and Fred VanVleet, but Lowry has really been having triple-double upside, so he becomes a little more interesting, a guy I really wasn't looking at. You could say the same for Siakam. Charlotte's gotten beat up by bigs all year. So, the two value pieces I'm most interested in, and then Lowry, Siakam, OG. I'm not really that into Boucher. I'd probably play Nerlens Noel over him.
Nerlens.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Stevie, what's your take on this?
Of course, it's a lot. There's a lot of volatility between Boucher and RHJ's minutes for the center spot with the Raptors, but they're both cheap enough. I think you can definitely put them together in cash games. Just take the full production out of center minutes there. Of course, they can play Siakam with some center minutes too, but both RHJ and Boucher have been reliable perimeter guys. So even if you're gonna get 40 minutes at a center spot for him and have the upside for the full 48 there. I like playing Boucher and RHJ in cash games together. I think Norman Powell is super interesting too. Like we mentioned, he's just returning from an injury, but it was hand, so it's like a conditioning thing where he shouldn't be he should be out of shape. Minutes should be monitored or so. Of course, no VanVleet too, and I think him being inserted into starting lineup too kind of gives us that security where coach trusts him to start, then he should be fine to play. So anywhere from 28 plus minutes is fine with me at 4-6. Of course, the matchup against the Hornets obviously isn't too appealing, but if he's going to play 28 plus minutes, it's hard not to want to get a piece of that in cash games too.
Yeah, I feel as you. Just got a starting lineup for the Timberwolves. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Looks like it's going to be D'Lo, Beasley, Okogie, Hernan Gomez, Reed. Nothing out of the ordinary. All right, let's get into the actual slate until we get some news outbreaking. Paulie, I'm going to start with you as we always do, man. Talk to me about your favorite studs on the slate. Obviously, Giannis' spot just got a little more appealing, but we still have Luka Doncic under 11K. We got Trae Young under 11K. We still got some studs. The value that's opened up so far, the more solid value is kind of mid-tier value. It's not all the way at the bottom, but we have more on the way. So there may be an opportunity for us to even get more. If we even want to do that, talk to me about your favorite studs, Paulie.
All right. My favorite stud is probably Nikola Vucevic against Minnesota. They've been getting crushed by bigs since Cat went down, allowing the most points in the paint since then. Since Enes entered the starting lineup, the usage has increased on the two bigs, Aaron Gordon and Vooch. And, Vooch is comfortably sitting at 15 or more shots a game, sometimes into the 20s in their last 6. Multiple steals and blocks capability. Minnesota's been playing the fastest outside of Washington since all those moves. Double-doubles, on layaway. And at 9-2, very low ownership. I think he goes for like 55 plus and helps you kind of get different when it's late. Next would be Giannis. Too cheap. Just, doesn't even need a ton of minutes to go for 60. Like the idea of pairing him with the OKC stuff that's underpriced with Danilo out and running like a 3 or 4 man kind of like mini stack to get Giannis. You play like some Schroeder, Nerlens Noel. Really like DeAndre Ayton as well. Just a nut spot against the Pistons. John Henson's not going to slow down Ayton, who's also been like a 2020 machine late or, flirting with on top of a lot of steals and blocks. And the Pistons have been turning it over, getting blocked at a high rate since pretty much sending in the season. Brad Beal, I'm not going to jump off. I think this is like a really awesome low ownership spot for him. Wish the price was a little lower, but he's had the highest usage in the entire NBA by about 5%, taking 20-plus shots a game. He's had like 80 points in his last 4 fourth quarters. Utah is on, really not playing that great lately. I expect this game to stay close. Beal's been playing pretty much 40 minutes a game with 40% usage and 20-plus shots, multiple threes, getting steals and blocks. I'm just not going to fade that trend at this point. Those are the 4 guys I'm most interested on the high end.
Holla. Stevie Brown, I know you were talking about you're kind of feeling the upper mid-tier more, Devin Booker's, and getting another extra one of those. But if you are considering studs, because we could get value to a point where you almost have no choice. And if that's the case, who are the studs you are considering?
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked. I'm on the kind of the opposite end of Paulie there. Like, I don't really. It's crazy. I'd rather go all the way up. First of all, Giannis is by far the best stud now. At Middleton, he comes close to like a 40% usage and like 2 fantasy point per minute average. So
that's like
game. That's what.
That's like what he does anyway.
Yeah, it's like a 1 point something boost. I don't have it up right now, but like the game should definitely stay closer now. And if the biggest thing I think is like what should be projected of more of a closer game, and like if he's gonna play full 11 minutes and no Middleton and a 40% usage rate, like he's not that he's too cheap, but he has by far and away the highest floor out of the studs and by far and away the highest ceiling out of the studs right now. Like for me, I'm going out of the studs. I think it's like Giannis, then Trae Young, then big gap, then Luka, and fine. I'll settle there and say like Vooch, or it's not as expensive as the studs, but like, yeah, all right, fine. I'll say Giannis, Trae Young, and Vooch there.
Trade dollar. All right, let's talk about some mid-tier action. Paulie, I'm kicking it back to you, man. The mid-tier is still deep. Just because value opens up doesn't make the mid-tier any less deep. We have a lot of plays here, man. Talk to me about some of the ones you like the most.
Dennis Schroeder, at 5'6" with no Danilo. Even though he doesn't start, he plays starters minutes for this team. I really like the second unit, high usage. His assist ratio has been awesome this year. Getting significantly paced up. He'll probably get blowout minutes if they do get smoked. So, I do like a lot of the piece on OKC, but he's my favorite and, favorite mid-tier piece at this point. Also, really like Steven Adams. He didn't kind of busted yesterday, but, I think he bounces back in a good spot for bigs. Devin Booker with no Oubre against, Detroit is an awesome spot. I mean, I really like Christian Wood in that same game at 7-2. Ayton, one thing he doesn't do is stop bigs, and Christian Wood re-entered the starting lineup last game. I'm expecting to remain there. He's by far their best player, by far their best fantasy player. Who else? Naz Reid, I just like that game, and he's had a couple bad foul trouble kind of games. Vooch doesn't really get people into foul trouble, So I think he has finally a good game, good minutes, all that good stuff. Karis LeVert, I mean, he's almost a stud price now, but against Atlanta, has the potential to go for 50 once again.
I got a question for you. Speaking of the devil with Karis LeVert, we have two guys who seem to be expensive now, who used to be pretty cheap, and no one even played when they were cheap, they're producing now. Aaron Gordon, Karis LeVert, both amazing matchups. Obviously, Aaron Gordon against the Timberwolves at a huge 121 team total. Then LeVert coming off apparently healthy and back from injury now, has been going on an absolute tear against the Hawks. Do you prefer LeVert over Aaron Gordon, or what are you doing between those two? Obviously, a bit different.
LeVert's usage is just outstanding. Atlanta turns the ball over a ton. They're going to be pacing them way up. I just prefer him right now. Just the usage he's had, the 3-point attempts. I like Vooch over Aaron Gordon, so it just, I'm gonna side with LeVert there. But they're both good plays.
Yeah, I agree there.
All right, let's kick it over with some value, Paulie.
This is what I'm excited now, Paul. You said you like Nerlens Noel over Boucher, so sell me there at least.
So, no Gallinari, right? This guy's a point-per-minute freak. Milwaukee's terrible against bigs. There's potential.
How many minutes do you think Noel and Adam share that really impacts, he's impacted by the Gallo news?
Well, I think that they really only have an 8-man rotation. So you take Gallo out. I don't think someone else emerges. I think everyone just kind of absorbs 2 to 3 more minutes. And I think he's kind of game flow proof. He's 3-2. And I think he'll see 22 minutes instead of the 18 or 19 with big rebounding upside, pacing up. This is the kind of situation where he does well. I don't know. I mean, he's gone for 26 and 23 in 2 of his last 3 games, and neither of those had the pace or were missing Gallinari. He's going to be 2% owned, where Boucher's going to be 30, and we don't even know how much time Boucher's going to get. They clearly don't really love him in these spots. Hollis Jefferson has moved ahead of him. Now Powell's back around. I don't know how much we even see Boucher. So I just, I prefer at this point.
Well, not confirmed. Carlisle said as far as he knows, Luka will play tonight against the Heat.
Nice. Very nice. But other value pieces, I'm all right with George Hill. I'll never get that excited to play him, but he is really cheap. Rondae Hollis Jefferson. I still think Toronto could blow out Charlotte. I think he gets run regardless. Norman Powell already touched on. Taurean Prince for Brooklyn. It was 4-7, former team, getting paced up. Shabazz Napier, I don't want to forget about. Paul Millsap at 4-9 against the Clippers, I really like. I think that's, going to be virtually unowned. I like that game a lot, actually. But that's what I meant at the top of the show. I don't think there's a ton of good value. Alex Len, shout out to Bobby Fi, pointed him out yesterday. He was crazy low owned. Went for about 8x. And, it is a back-to-back, so I'm a little concerned. But they will need him, against Memphis. Got 21 minutes yesterday. He's 4K. We know, when he does get minutes, the upside is there. Kevin Porter Jr., against New Orleans, getting paced way up. Love the usage he's been getting. Josh Jackson, I don't want to forget about from Memphis. He kind of let me down a little bit against Houston, but the role is there for him. And with both those 2 power forwards out, I just expect him to get good minutes if the game stays close, and I think this one will. Those are kind of the main ones. I'm not in love with the value. That's why I think it's more of a mid-tier day.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Stevie, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm kind of going overweight and more of what's considered the chalkier value than playing the fringier guys. RHJ, of course, going to be super chalky, but I think it kind of warrants it, and it's the right play. I like you. I know you say you don't really like him, but I like George Hill a lot. His minutes have kind of like not by much, but slowly he's going back to like 20 minutes or so, or no, 25 minutes or so. And with no Middleton, if he's safe around 24, 25 plus minutes there, when I need a mid-price guy to help fit those mid-tier studs, like I want to go Ayton, Booker, and Giannis, you kind of really need to play Hill with those Raptors value. So I think he's a comfortable fit that does have some solid floor and solid upside. So I'm playing a lot of Hill, and what I'm looking at right now definitely isn't the most current ownership updated, but if he's going to be low owned, then I will be way over the field with that. But it's RHJ, it's Hill, it's Boucher. I have some interest in Nerlens Noel too, like you mentioned, but for me, I don't think he has the same upside as Boucher. Like, I think Boucher's kind of. So you kind of made the argument about Boucher's minutes being kind of volatile, which of course it is, but like I think Boucher's minutes floor right now is the same as like gives you the same production as like Nerlens Noel as a kind of medium projection, which like I'll take if that's the case. If like Boucher's floor is the same as Noel's like medium projection, like Boucher obviously has a lot more upside in both production and minutes here. Then I much rather play a lot more Boucher than Nerlens Noel. I see like 28% of Boucher and 9% of Nerlens. Obviously, there's a big discrepancy there, but like I still rather go overweight on Boucher than play more Nerlens. I think they're both fine plays if you really want the value to go up to like Giannis's and Trae Young's and Lucas and stuff like that. I don't think you really need to play both 3K guys together because you're going to really pair probably one of them with the Raptors guys and play a couple mid-tier guys and maybe Giannis or Bledsoe and other mid-tier guys. But only the guy I'm really looking at outside of the really chalky guys, Cam Reddish. He's been playing big minutes now. He's actually been producing fairly well, and I see him 2% owned. Like for compared to the rest of the value, like I think he's getting really overlooked because the rest of the value popped once we got the injury news. But if he's going to play between 35 plus minutes in a fast-paced game like this, he's still super cheap on DK, and he's being 2% owned. Like there's not like he should be projected right around Norman Powell. But Powell's a little more expensive, and he's coming in like super low owned compared to Powell now. So I like Cam Reddish a lot in tournaments a lot. I still think he brings a solid floor too. I don't think he's obviously the greatest basketball player. He's playing big minutes, fast-paced game, and he's super cheap. So I think it brings a lot of merit to him.
Fair enough. Any interest in John Henson for either of your guys? He's been playing somewhere in around 20 to 22, 23 minutes playing Phoenix.
Yes, definitely. Same reasons that I really like Wood. Like Henson's probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be back real quick.
Do it dirty. He's gonna do it dirty. Anyway, keep talking about that.
Henson's probably a better point per minute player actually than Wood. Not going to get nearly as many minutes, but you know, for the same reasons I like Wood in that matchup, you gotta like Henson, and you know he's going to start most likely, and you know he's super cheap. So yeah, I like him. You know, centers are nice to grab at value because of the double potential and like you know easy path of 10 points, 10 rebounds, and pretty much out of 30 almost.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I'm with you on it. Again, like I set the rule. You know, obviously I always set a rule when it comes to Boucher and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. So I don't, you know, I'm gonna have a way more of Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. And again, with Boucher, we've seen situations like this where he's only gotten like 11 minutes, right, like 12 minutes, 15 minutes. We've seen it. If this game blows out, he could blow up the slate, go out there and go for 30 DraftKings points. But I'm with you. I think there's other guys whose role are a little bit more solidified, who are actually in the rotation, like Henson, who are at the same price and are also in a phenomenal matchup. So I'm with you. Henson is probably the value center that when I say value, I mean like dirt value, because I'm going to be playing a lot of Giannis. I'm playing a shit ton of Giannis. If I go down because I played too much Giannis on a slate with no Middleton, so fucking be it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like I love the mid-tier. I love Christian Wood. I love Devin Booker. I love Ricky Rubio. I love all these mid-tier guys. But You give me any excuse to play Giannis, whether it's higher minutes or just higher usage, if that's even a thing, and I'm playing the Greek Freak. On top of that, we have a little narrative for those who like the narrative, and Harden decided to pop shit off on Giannis, man, like for no real good reason. So that's where I'm at. He said something about, like, Stevie, do you know exactly what he said? I saw part of it. He said, I know for a fact he said something about, well, if I was 7 foot tall, like, I would be able to, you know, he was basically saying, like, he's just big. He's not good.
He said, like, no skill. Like, if I wish I was 7 foot tall and could just dunk all day, like, it takes no skill. Like, I'm happy trying to have skill than being 7 foot and dunk. Like, I have to work for my skill. Like he has it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was talking a lot of shit about
it. He
him.
Basically said that he can't shoot, he can't do anything. He doesn't have to even jump to dunk. That's like basically saying that, like, the game comes easy for him because of that, not because of his skills, because of his size or whatever. So, hey, I expect him to go out and ball out with his balls out. Well, what are your guys' interest in Dennis Schroeder, man? Another mid-tier play. I'm getting a lot of Dennis Schroeder. Right? Like, I mean, we've seen it every time. Every time Gallo's out, he gets more minutes, he takes more shots. It's just, and he's still cheap in a pace-up matchup in a game that now I think we all agree should at least has the chance of being a little bit closer.
Yeah, so I like Schroeder a lot. Like, first of all, like if we're playing a lot of Bucks now too, well, like the Thunder were interesting before with no Gallo. Like, it definitely makes the game really stackable. It's a huge pace-up spot for him. They should play a lot of 3-guard sets now with all of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Schroeder, and Chris Paul. He's the cheapest out of them, of course, by a good margin. He's going to play 32 minutes. Like, I think he's safe for his floor being like a 5-6x, and like he has plenty of upside from there. Like, we saw a good stretch too where he's getting like 40 plus DKP nights on the daily, and I mean, that wasn't even in big minutes. So if he's going to get 32 minutes here in a huge pace up spot, like if you're playing the Bucks on the opposite end, either any of them, because they're all super appealing now. Like, Schroeder is one of my favorite players in the slate right now.
Yeah, I agree. Paulie, what's your interest level in him? Schroeder.
Very high.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I'm not alone because I'm getting a lot of him, and like we haven't really talked about him much.
Me too.
And I'm getting a shit ton of him, so I just wanted to make sure. Like, am I on an island here with this motherfucker? Okay, it's good to know that y'all are on the same page. It's not as exciting to talk about Schroeder. I know it's not as exciting to sit here like, oh, I love Dennis Schroeder today. But I just wanted to make sure that was a thing. With that said, Stevie, I'm gonna kick it to you for a little bit, man. I want to hear some of your cash game insight. Obviously, Matt wrote the article today, so I'll pop his up and I kind of compare just out of curiosity. But talk to me. I guess give me give me 4 players that are just a must for you in cash. Like, it's not debatable. Is it all Milwaukee guys?
Well, what's interesting too, at first I didn't. Well, listen, I'm Giannis is a must in cash games. You got to play in cash. But like I was debating because there are so many mid tier plays you could go with that it was almost tough to want to play Giannis when I said to you before, there's Bledsoe now without Middleton. There's Devin Booker. There's DeAndre Ayton. There's Christian Wood. Like, a lot of these guys are popping at any optimizer you use, and they're all fantastic plays, of course, too. All of them underpriced and with big upside too, and a great floor. But now I think you kind of have to settle and play like a 3K guy or so. Still get most of those mid-range guys in, maybe like 2 or 3 of them plus Giannis. I think like George Hill really made that fit with Middleton being out. So Bledsoe too, with still sitting at a 119.5 team total. I think you just take the bulk production. You take Giannis and Bledsoe. You take George Hill for your cheap value guy with upside there. There's $3 there, and you play a lot of Raptors. Obviously, the chalk one's going to be Ronda House Jefferson. Definitely warranted.
Do you think they're projecting his ownership at?
No, oh god.
75 on a 10-game
fucking
slate.
10-game slate, man. That's crazy.
Because it's because of exactly what you guys said. There is no strong value. It's just him. Who else?
But like, for me, like, yeah, I agree. Like, he has by far the best floor and ceiling at most value. But like, I'd rather go overweight on Boucher and underweight on RJ if that's the case. But I mean, it's tough.
Well, yeah, well, that's exactly what this is. We've seen this situation happen like 3 or 4 times this year, and every single time people played Boucher, they got fucked. So it's kind of like the DSJ thing, right, Paulie? When DSJ was starting because Elf was out and Nitty was out, he was 80% for the first 3 times, and the 4th time he was 30% because people got tired of getting burnt. So this is like the opposite scenario. It makes me want to I don't fuck with caps that often, But I do have a rule in with Ibaka and all them, and it kind of makes me want to. Switch and not switch, but cap RHJ at about like 70-75% to make sure I do get 20% of Boucher. Because look, in the event that RHJ gets into foul trouble or something like that, they have no choice but to play Boucher at that point. Even 20 minutes, even if it's just 20 minutes, he's obviously got the ceiling. So it's interesting that minute, this is just, we've seen this situation happen, and that's been the result, and this is the consequence of it. But definitely crazy.
I think in every lineup you don't have RHJ, you have Boucher, and in every lineup you don't have Giannis, and you have Bledsoe in.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Show for show. Let me see if there's any questions in here while we crunch these teams. Middleton is out with all the. Okay, here we go. GQ Rock 007. Love that name. Hit the like button, guys. Those of you who haven't. With the value opening up on the Raptors, can you see rostering Lowry, Powell, Siakam, and RHJ? I'm assuming he means together.
Sure.
You can, but the problem with them is they're not even cheap. They both have, of course, big ceilings. And I think Siakam still want to play over Lowry. It's still an awful match. Much rather take the bigger beneficiaries who are the cheaper guys and take a Giannis, who becomes the bigger beneficiary, obviously with Middleton out. But Lowry's still sitting at almost 8K. That's still tough, and Siakam at 8.5. He's price for floor now. He does have a 50+ upside, but I'd rather play the cheaper guys and play mid-tier studs from other games.
Fair enough. It's interesting because now I've updated the projections and loaded it in. I'm getting the Schroeder I want. I'm getting RHJ a ton and Middleton. I'm sorry, and Giannis and all this, and even DiVincenzo. I'm getting these guys, but I noticed that I'm looking at my center position, and because I have so much Giannis, I took a hit on the guys I really wanted. My DeAndre Ayton was cut in half. My Rudy Gobert was cut in half. My Christian Wood was we're talking a 25% decrease of the Christian Wood I had before. So I got to make some adjustments to this thing to make sure that I don't just completely forget about the guys that I liked initially all fucking day.
Yeah,
that's always the wild thing. Let me ask you guys about a player specifically. Late Night Hammer. What are we doing with that? 10:30 all by itself. 2 potential playoff teams. Paul George is 7-1. Played 28 minutes in his last game. Users look good. For the Denver side, we got Nikola Jokic. Similar pricing. He's a stud. Similar pricing to Vooch. Smash matchup, but everybody's healthy. I know Paulie likes Paul Millsap, and I agree. I think Paul Millsap steps up, does dirty. Stevie, I'm going to start with you on this question. I know you're playing mostly cash, but from a tournament perspective, how do you view that late night hammer? Is that situation you want, or are you willing to just say, no, there's too many other good spots on a 10-game slate. I don't think I'm going to need it.
So I think you have to have some. And the biggest thing is he's still coming at 1% owned. I don't think he really has any kind of minutes ceiling still. But if he's 1% owned, give me 3-4% of him. The biggest problem is, like I said, he's only going to play 30 minutes or so, and the team's loaded now. It wasn't before when it was only Kawhi, Will, Montrez. They got a bunch of fucking bodies in there now. If he's only going to be playing 30 minutes or so and not the best matchup, then I don't think it's warranted to play him over the other mid-tier studs. But you should have a 1% owned Paul George probably any slate, because even if it's 30 minutes, he can go for 45 plus, and that's definitely enough at 7K.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Paul, anything to add on that?
I think the game's awesome. I will have a few stacks, but both teams are both very healthy and very deep right now, and it's hard to really hone in on any one or two players at high ownership. I personally think there's something wrong with Paul George. I know there's a soft limit on his minutes. I just don't think he's fully healthy. Has not looked good. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around, but Denver's not really the optimal opponent for that to happen. Outside of Millsap, nobody's really standing out for me here. And I think it's stack it or just Millsap as one-offs in a completely different kind of builds to me.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. What is this? Luka Doncic available to play, so it's official now. Luka's going to be in. That could have been a crazy situation if he would have had to load up on Dallas for a second there. But with that said, I think it makes sense. It's one of those things, man. It's not Denver is not a team that's ideal to target against, right? They emphasize defense, they play slow. However, on the other end, the Clippers have actually been one of the best team to target in fantasy points against, and it's a potential playoff matchup. So you feel guys are going to step it up, right? The game's in LA. who doesn't step up when they go to fucking LA? You know what I mean? In a playoff atmosphere. So I'm a little nervous because I am right now. I have some, but I have very little. These are guys that I had a lot more of. I had like about 15% Paul George. Right now I'm looking at about 5. So over time, with all the news, I've gotten less and less exposure to these guys, and it's scaring me just a little bit. But at the end of the day, I understand this is we have so many of these other good spots now. It's hard to really commit to something like that. But with that said, we're gonna do what we do. We got about 7 minutes to lock, Nation. Let me see. I think I'm about to do okay. Projections and cheat sheets are pretty much updated. I think we're about 6 minutes from lock now. Pretty much updated. Let me go ahead and get this thing loaded, get my teams built, and we will take it home. If there's any questions, we could do that too. But in the meantime, dirty's got to be done. Dirty's got to be done. That's what we do. Are you set, Stevie, or are you still contemplating your? You're just doing one cash team, correct?
I'm set. I got one lineup that have like some single entries in cash. I got one other lineup I put in like more deep field tournaments.
Right, but you're one lineup. You're mostly one lineup in it today, right?
Yeah, I'm all set right now.
Do me a favor, pull up the YouTube chat so we don't leave the nation hanging, and see if there's any questions we can answer.
YouTube chat, let's go. Middleton is out. The value opening up on the Raptors. Can you see roster? We got to that before. Greg Corona, I know he's a WiseTake guy.
WiseTake Nation OG.
Porter Jr. only get minutes last game because of the blowout. No, he went. Actually, that's. I like that you asked it because he's in the only lineup I have that's not my cash game lineup. He came into the game last game when there was a 9-point lead. The game kind of got out of hand over there. Like it looked like he would have closed if it was a close game because he was still in there in the final with 3 minutes when it was only a 14-point game until Denver absolutely unloaded the bench, and then they let their scrubs in like Vonleh, Dozier, and all of them. But he played, I think it was like 12 minutes consecutive or so in the second half, and got a big chunk of the first half too. If he's going to be playing 22 minutes again or so, in a decent matchup, I like him as really, really low in value. So he's actually in there in my second lineup that's not my cash lineup. Paul, any interest in him?
Who?
Michael Porter Jr.
Very little. You know what I mean? Like, I think if the game blows out, he could certainly get some run, but like, they're just so deep. Like, I don't see him being on the winning lineup, ceilinging out unless he gets the blowout run and just goes absolutely nuts. I don't think he gets enough minutes and usage in a very close game.
Sure. Let's see. Questions? Any Okogie love?
Very little.
Yeah, I'm not too into that. I just don't know if we need him at this point.
Yeah, I have none.
Like I'm playing Enos over him, right? Like at least I am. Enos.
I don't really like either of them, but yeah, definitely.
Is it Enos or Ennis? I mean, I just got to get that out the way. It is Ennis? Okay. Because every time I say Enos, I think of penis, and I'm like, that can't be his name. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's not all I heard when you said that. I was like, oh, bro. Like,
I'm like, that can't be the guy's name. And if it is, poor guy, man. You know, imagine what his nicknames were growing up, man. You know what I mean?
He got a few swirlies in high school. I'm saying.
I mean, either that or he's thugged out right now because you ain't fucking, a guy that gets picked on like that over that name. But, obviously. Because, I mean, even if his name is Ennis, like, if I see his name on paper and I'm a kid, I'm that asshole that's like, dude, is your name Penis? Like, you know what I mean? Like, really, imagine if his middle name was P.
James Penis III.
Imagine if his name was P. Middle name was P, bro. James P. Enos, that'd be brutal.
God. Parents just fuck him up like that.
That'd be messed up. I feel terrible for him. But, it's a cold world. Real cold world. J. Cole taught me that.
Adam Lomax, 6.5K utility or under. Give us one player, Paulie.
6 point what or under?
6.5.
6.5 or under.
6.5 a tough range too, because I like the 5K range and I like the 6-9 range. But
I think Fournier.
Evan Fournier, yeah, Evan Fournier is actually perfect there. Fournier or Graham. Let's see, Ayton or Booker from Smashing.
Ayton.
Jared Allen or Tristan Thompson.
Thompson.
That's all we got there. Let me pull up the Wise stream. See what we got going on there.
Yeah, Paulie was rapid fire with them answers. I like it, man. He's ready. He's in the fucking
I
zone.
like it, like a nice, clear,
He's
like
in the fucking zone right now, bro. Look at him. He's in the fucking zone, bro. He's got his new fucking haircut. He's in the fucking. You remember that video? That was awesome. I love that video.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
loved it.
On the Wise stream, we have it's Pal on a minutes restriction.
We haven't heard anything.
No official news. Like, he hasn't really played much minutes, like, really almost ever. He's come back from injury for the first time in a while, but it was a hand injury. I don't think it's a conditioning thing. He can get the start, so I'm pretty sure he's going to play bigger minutes.
Sure enough.
See, Nick Marchegione. Any love for the Thunder guards? SGA and Schroeder. I love them. I know that. Schroeder, SGA, then Chris Paul, like by a wide margin on both of them, but I like them all. Juicelino?
Juice. Juice.
Bro, I'm sorry.
Juice.
Oh, Juice. All right. Any love for Graham against the Raptors? I like Graham. I think the game does stay close, and like game stays close, he obviously has some upside. So hasn't been playing great anymore, but I still like him a lot.
Boom! I'm uploaded. Oh, that was just the crunch time is always just a terrifying thing, man. It's always just crazy.
Yeah, it's that 2 minutes after like you're refreshing like vision.
I know. Good. Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that because I better go check and make sure it's actually in. What did you say, Paulie? You were saying some shit.
What game started 7?
Just the Timberwolves. Just Minnesota. Minnesota's the only one. Toronto starts at 7:30. Brooklyn starts at 7:30.
You have until like 7:30 at the least.
Yeah, we are at lock now.
Right.
So on DraftKings, you can still late swap whatever you got to do. At FanDuel, you guys are locked in. It is 7 p.m. Eastern. Only the Minnesota-Orlando game starts at 7. So some flexibility, some time to make some changes on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you're ready to rock. Go enjoy the rest of your night. Start your sweating, and just know that if you get fucked with injury, so did everybody else. So that's gonna do it for us today, Nation. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like button if you haven't already. The likes really go a long way. They really help us out, and we're gonna keep doing the free content as long as you guys keep showing up and liking the videos and all that good shit. Oh, it looks like Biombo is gonna start again. I wonder if Cody Zeller's out, but Biombo gonna start again. I guess. Real quick, we could just address that for a second because Biombo obviously balled out, and this is a team that's probably going to struggle against centers for the time being. I mean, like Toronto are missing Ibaka and Gasol. Any interest in Bismack Biombo?
Revenge.
It is revenge. Oh shit! It is revenge.
Yeah. Not much though. I think he gets run off the court.
Like because the small ball stuff, and they end up playing PJ Washington more.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Did Zeller pay for the Raptors?
No. Oh no, I don't think so. Zeller didn't, right? Biombo did though.
Biombo did.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's.
Well, here's the question: like,
I think you're saying
Zeller supposedly missed the last game for rest. Like, and it technically he was a healthy, did not play, coach's decision, but that was the excuse that they used, as it was for rest. So I'm interested. Like, is that going to be a case? Is he like now out of the rotation? That's strange. Very, very strange. All right, well.
Yeah, it's interesting because now, like, where we have a half hour to late swap, and I kept saying we need a 3K guy, like, does Hernan Gomez come into play a little bit?
It makes you wonder. Anyway, that's going to do it for us, Nation. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hit that like button on your way out. This is the last show of the week. We'll be back with it on Monday. Although at WiseTake.com, we will continue to provide the regular content, projections, cheat sheet, articles, all that usual stuff if you're subscribed to WiseTake.com. But as far as the shows go, we will be back on Monday. Hit the like button. For Stevie Brown, for Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.